One of the things that I think we get very wrong about God is God's relationship to power. As human beings, we are fundamentally in a very different relationship with power than God is. Some of us have power over some of our circumstances, but not others. Some of us have power over the people around us, but not everyone. And so human beings are always negotiating our relationship with power. We want more of it, but that means we have to take it from someone else. God is infinitely powerful. God is exceedingly great. God is so powerful that God can create universes. In fact, God is so powerful that God's relationship to power is only one of giving away. God can never get more power. God can never acquire more power. The very creative act is God ceding power to creation, because now that creation gets to make choices about who it will be and what it will do and whether it will be or won't be in relationship with its creator. God's relationship to power is only ever the kind that gives it away. And that becomes really important to understanding the God of the Bible, particularly when we get to things like the cross. Why would any God, we might ask, put themselves in that kind of a position to look so fragile and so weak? Well, that's only because our relationship with power is always to want more, and God's relationship with power is only ever to give it away. Infinite power can never be diminished. And that's always been there through all the text of the Bible. We have stories like 1 Samuel 4, where the Israelites engage a war of aggression against their neighbors, and God says, I'm not interested in that. Even if you invoke my name, even if you bring along the Ark of the Covenant that represents me on the earth, I want no part of that, and I don't care if my name is diminished or humiliated in the eyes of your enemies. That's not important to me because none of it can ever take away from who I am and what my power is. We are constantly negotiating these things, and sometimes we think God acts the same way, but it's very clear from the scriptures that God is not in a contest to gain more power in the world. God only wants us to see God for who God is and for the self-giving sacrificial love that comes with, well, honestly, infinite power. That's always been a criticism of the Christian story, and I believe it's actually central to understanding the good news of Jesus. Why would any God allow themselves to appear so fragile? In fact, that's precisely one of the criticisms that was levied against early Christian communities. For example, there's this really famous scratching or carving from the 2nd century that was discovered in Rome. It's called the Alexamenos Graffito. But essentially, it's this sort of crude graffiti epithet that was carved into a wall. And I'll put it on the screen here. There's an image of the actual carving, and then there's a drawing so you can see what's going on a little more clearly here. But that's Jesus on the cross with a donkey head to illustrate how silly this person thought the whole idea was. And underneath is scratched the inscription, Alexamenos worships his God. Essentially, this was just someone making fun of their neighbor for being a Christian because they thought the whole idea of a crucified Savior was absurd. Why would any God worth worshiping allow that to happen to them? Now, of course, as Christians, we believe that self-sacrificing love is the very heart of the divine. That is precisely what Jesus shows us about God. But the truth is, that answer goes all the way back, even into the story that we read last week. In fact, I would argue it's woven through the whole story of the Bible. It's just that we miss it a lot of the time. God has always been willing to appear weak. God has never cared about any of our measures of strength to begin with. In fact, as far as God is concerned, strength was never about any of our perceptions anyway. It's not some puffed up macho bravado. Divine strength has always been about the commitment to see through what is right, to stand up for justice when necessary, but also very much to walk away from violence that drags us back into cycles of never-ending war. And what we saw last week is that this God has been willing to lose since before that made any sense to any of us. In the words of the theologian Lil Wayne, real G's move in silence like lasagna.
And sometimes power looks more like quiet peace than it does like celebratory praise, and sometimes that's something that all of us could stand to hang on to.
Hey, thanks for making it through to the end of that. If you're interested in what we're doing here at Commons, then give us a subscribe, a like, all of that stuff. And by all means, post a comment and we'll continue the discussion there. You can also join our Discord for the ongoing dialogue here in our community. Anyway, have a great week. We'll see you soon.